Hi students, this is Ms. Johnson with your notes on solving equations with 2 steps. Our SWOBET is the same, know how to solve equations with 2 steps. Alright, let's get into how we do this. So when we solve equations, the goal is to get the variable all by itself, and we're going to do that by doing the same thing to both sides of the equal sign. So here's the 5 steps you want to follow for every equation. We're going to draw a balance line on the equal sign. It's going to go right down the middle. We want to simplify both sides if possible. We want to move the variables to one side of the equation, and typically I move the smallest variable. Number 4, we want to do the opposite operation to get the variable all by itself. And then lastly, we want to plug the answer back in just to double check that we've got the right thing. Alright, so write these steps down. Now I've copied these steps onto this screen, but you don't need to write them down again. I just put them there as a reference for me. Alright, problem number 1. We have the equation 3c plus 6 equals 18. Alright, step number 1, we're going to draw the balance line. Here's our equal sign, we're going to draw our balance line right down the middle. Alright, simplify both sides. There's nothing to simplify on the left, we can't combine those, and there's just 18, so we can't simplify. Move the variables to one side. We already have our c on the left, so we're good. So then step number 4 is do the opposite operation to get the variable by itself. Well, here's our variable c. Right now it says 3 times c, and then we have the plus 6. You want to start with the plus 6, whatever is not directly attached to the variable. So the opposite of plus 6 is minus 6. So we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. When we do that, plus 6 minus 6 cancels out, and that should happen every time you do a step. 18 minus 6 is 12, so now we are left with 3c equals 12. Continuing to get the variable by itself, it says 3 times c, so we're going to divide by 3 on each side. 12 divided by 3 is 4, so our final answer is c equals 4. Now let's check it. If c is 4, let's plug it back in. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 6 is 18. We got it correct. C equals 4. Alright, number 2, negative 4 equals negative 4d plus 20. Alright, as we take a look, let's draw our balance line right down the middle. We don't have anything to simplify. We only have one variable, so we're going to do the opposite to get the d by itself. So let's start with our constant term, plus 20. Opposite of plus 20 is minus 20. As we do that, plus 20 minus 20 cancels out. Negative 4 minus 20 is negative 24. We are left with the negative 4d. Bring that down. So negative 4 times d, opposite is to divide, so we're going to divide by negative 4. And negative 24 divided by negative 4 is going to be a positive 6. So d equals 6. Plugging it back in to check, we've got negative 4 equals negative 4 times 6 plus 20. Well, negative 4, this is some crazy writing, sorry. Negative 4 times 6 is negative 24, and negative 24 plus 20 does equal negative 4. So we are set. Negative 4 equals negative 4. Alright, let's step it up a notch. Number 3, we have 2x equals x plus 12. Again, I wrote the steps up here. You don't need to copy those down. Alright, drawing our balance line. Simplify both sides. Now this time we can simplify. We can not simplify 2x, but we can simplify 8 plus 12. 8 plus 12 is 20. So here's our simplifying. Whoops, I went a little far, sorry. We only have one set of variables, so we can skip step 3. Do the opposite to get the variable by itself. So we have 2 times x. Our last step is divide. Divide both sides by 2, and x equals 10. Moving on to check, if we substitute 10 back in for x, we get 2 times 10 equals 8 plus 12. 2 times 10 is obviously 20, and 8 plus 12 we already figured out is 20, so we are correct. Excellent. Let's move on to the next one. Number 4, 7y minus 3y equals 16. Wow! Sorry about that. All right, let's draw our balance line down the middle. Simplifying. This time we can simplify with our variables. 7y minus 3y is 4y. So now we have 4y equals 16. Again, let's do the opposite to get the y by itself. Divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so those cancel out. And we have 16 divided by 4, which is 4. Plugging it back in to check, if y equals 4, we get 7 times 4, which is 28. Minus 3 times 4 is 12. And so we are able to subtract, and yes, 16 does equal 16. Moving on to a little bit more difficult. Number 5, 2 plus 3k equals 5k. Let me draw my balance line. Simplify. We cannot simplify 2 plus 3k. But number 3, we can move the variables to one side. We've got 2 sets of variables up here, and I typically like to move the smallest one so that we end up with a positive variable. Doesn't always have to be the case, but that's what I'd like to do. So 3k is smaller than 5k, so we're going to move the 3k. Right now it says plus 3k, so the opposite is we're going to subtract 3k. Plus 3k minus 3k is eliminated, so now we are left with 2 on the left-hand side, and 5k minus 3k is 2k. Get the variable by itself, doing the opposite, we have 2 times k, so divide both sides by 2, and we get k equals 1. Substituting back in, we've got 2 plus 3 times k, which is 1, equals 5 times 1. Order of operations, we need to multiply first, so 3 times 1 is 3, 5 times 1 is 5, and obviously 2 plus 3 equals 5. Number 6, a little bit different. A plus 7 divided by 8 equals 5. So as we set this one up, let me scroll down a little bit here. Let me draw my balance line. This time, simplifying. We don't have anything to simplify. We can't divide this. And there's nothing on the right-hand side. We only have one variable, so we're going to do the opposite operation. Now, as we take a look, our division goes all the way across. That means we need to get rid of this divided by 8 first. So instead of the opposite of dividing by 8, we are going to multiply by 8. So I'm going to multiply by 8 on both sides. As I do this, dividing by 8, multiplying by 8 cancels out, and we are left with just a plus 7 on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, 5 times 8 is 40. Now it looks a little more simpler. Get the a by itself, we got to get rid of the plus 7. Opposite of plus 7 is minus 7. So now we are left with a equals 33. Plugging our answer back in to check. A plus 7, so 33 plus 7 is 40. 40 divided by 8, yes, we get 5. All right, one more example, number 7. A little bit more complex yet. We have the fraction 2/3 times j minus 25 equals 115. All right, got my balance line. Simplify. Nothing to simplify. These are not like terms. We only have one variable, so we're going to do the opposite to get rid of things. So we're going to get rid of the minus 25 first. So plus 25 to both sides, and we are left with 2/3 j equals 140. Now we've got 2/3 times j. We're going to get rid of our 2/3. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to divide by 2/3 on both sides. These will eliminate, and we're going to be left with j equals, and now we need to grab our graphing calculator, and we need to type in 140 divided by, and make sure we use our parentheses, we got to put 2 divided by 3 in our parentheses, and we get 210. So j equals 210. All right, let's plug it back in to check. We've got 2/3 times j, so 2 divided by 3 in parentheses times 210 equals 140 minus 25 equals 115. So 115 does equal 115. All right, those are our 7 examples for today. Let's go ahead and summarize the focus of what our lesson was, what you learned or remembered, an example is, and a question you still have. This is Ms. Johnson with your notes on solving equations with 2 steps.